Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Well, it's a pretty shot there. Good morning. Look at that. 7:29 coming up on 7:30 is the time. I'm Patrice Sanders.
You know, I'm Tom Rogers, and we want to get right to your traffic and weather, as some of you may experience a little bit of fog coming in. Hopefully that's clearing out pretty quick here. We do traffic and weather every 10 minutes.
Candace Dole keeping an eye on the commute to see if there's fog out there. But let's get started with Jonathan Myers in the forecast.
Yeah, interesting picture because around the Key Bridge there you see there's clear skies, but on the Towson Cam and I know outside here, TV Hill, we fully low clouded over once again. You can see Easton getting 1 mile visibility. The fog gradually beginning to lift as the sun comes up at this point, so that's good news. Also the good news, we get rid of rain this morning, although see more from that weather maker off to the north and west, even some snow over New England. So yeah, stays cool today with highs only near 60. Maybe some jackets on the playground, so there could even be a sprinkle or shower this afternoon. I'll let you know when we clear out and warm up, coming up in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. We need to talk about 895. A 7-vehicle accident out along the southbound side of 895. Here's the scene. This is right at the Harbor Tunnel. All of the traffic is being detoured off onto Lombard Street, but at this point, you need to avoid the entire 895 corridor to avoid this stretch and stick with 95 or 695 around the bridge. Back over to you.
Thank you, Candace. 7:31, 1 week after a Project Baltimore investigation, the Department of Education is now taking action.
The DOE tells Fox 45 it is now looking to improve how grant applications are reviewed and scored. And this morning, our investigation continues with the tale of two Baltimore City charter schools who both won a federal grant.
Yeah, that's right. As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps shows us, though, while one school is thriving, the other is shutting down.
Govans Elementary and NACA are the only two schools in Maryland to ever receive the prestigious Charter School Expansion Grant from the U.S. Department of Education. During our investigation, we learned what happened to these two schools after they got the grant is very different. But what happened before is exactly the same. The moment, though, that you found out you got the grant, that had to be a really exciting moment.
It was really exciting. It was it was a real validation of our plan, if you will, that not only do we think we're doing the right thing, but the Department of Education thinks we're doing the right thing as well.
Laura Doherty remembers that day in 2015 very well. The day her charter school became the first in Maryland to win a prestigious expansion grant from the U.S. Department of Education. That year, just 12 schools nationwide won this particular grant, totaling $85 million. Doherty's school got nearly $300,000 of that.
We were thrilled.
Doherty runs the Baltimore Curriculum Project, the largest charter school operator in the city. They have 5 schools. The grant went to Govans Elementary in North Baltimore.
And Govans is a really great school. It's somewhat of it's a somewhat hidden gem.
Doherty tells Project Baltimore some of the grant was used for marketing, pamphlets, brochures, their sign out front. But most went for an academic coach for the school's teachers, and it appears to have worked. Govans' test scores have significantly increased. English proficiency has nearly tripled.
We're really pleased.
For 2 years, Govans remained the only school in Maryland to receive this grant. But in 2017, they were joined by Northwood Uphold Community Academy, also in Baltimore City, which got $1.5 million taxpayer dollars.
Dr. Gray? Hi, I'm Chris Papps with Fox 45.
But a Project Baltimore investigation has raised serious questions about how and why NACA got this grant. We looked at the school's grant application and found the numbers don't add up. For example, NACA told the federal government its 2013 reading scores were 8 points higher than the state average. But according to State Department of Education data, they're actually 15 points lower. Plus, despite winning that $1.5 million grant, Baltimore City School Board voted in January to close NACA, saying it had a pattern of not complying with federal education law and was deemed not effective in managing grants.
We've been trying to get a hold of you. Wanted to ask a few questions about the Department of Education grant that you recently received.
When we tried to ask NACA's founder, Dr. Cecil Gray, about all of this, he refused to speak with us. But North Avenue told Project Baltimore that before issuing grants, the U.S. Department of Education does not contact local school systems to ask questions. The DOE declined an on-camera interview, but is taking action to correct the issues Project Baltimore has exposed. 1 week after we broke this story, we received this statement from the DOE's press secretary. The department is committed to being a good steward of taxpayer dollars and holding all grantees accountable. Any instance of fraud, waste, and abuse will be investigated. All grant applications will go through a rigorous peer review process. And while the process is a long-established one across the federal government, the department is working internally to improve how grant applications are reviewed and scored. But nobody ever contacted you. You just found out one day that you got the grant.
I don't think they contacted us to interview us or anything like that. Or I know they never came to the school, but I don't think there was any contact once you submitted the grant until getting notified that you'd gotten it.
No visits, no phone calls, no emails, no anything. And next year, the U.S. Department of Education will issue $500 million in grants to charter schools, a $100 million increase from just 2 years ago.
We need to create schools that families really want to bring their kids to.
Dr. Gray, can you answer just a few of our questions? We've been trying to get a hold of you.
And where all of the kids are successful and that they're fun, lively places for people to be. That's our goal.
Daugherty told Project Baltimore the feds have conducted audits and done quarterly phone calls since issuing the grant. The Department of Education also told us they've paid out about $500,000 of that grant to NACA so far. And not only can they choose to withhold the rest of the money, they can also make Dr. Gray pay back the money he has already received. And we want to hear from you. Do you have a follow the money, the story that you want us to investigate? Call our hotline, send me an email, go to foxbaltimore.com to follow our progress. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.